Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk this first Thursday of March. It is looking springy out there. We almost went outside, but I said I'm not warm enough yet.
Well, I guess the real question is this real spring or is this fake spring?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The pseudo spring we get, is there still more?
Is this the lion or the lamb?
Either way, I've thrown out all my pants. I am fully in on the shorts. If you see my knee this morning.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you can make your prediction in the comments. Is it real spring or fake spring? And that's the question of the day.
Just to translate for our British viewers, I mean trousers.
Okay. Well, grab your coffee and
I don't know what to do with
we're
that.
going to go back in time here a little bit. Looking back on Sunday, we're in the section of the Sermon on the Mount that is talking about Jesus is taking different case studies. We're calling them case studies, examples of how the Pharisees and the religious leaders of the day were taking something from the Old Testament and abusing it, and he's saying, no, this is what it really means. And so on Sunday, we were in a section about oath taking. And we were just talking about how, it just seems so obvious. Just do what you say and say what you do. And that's so true. And we'll talk a little bit more on that. But what I tried to bring out on Sunday was that the way it was being abused, the way oaths were being abused as a way to impress other people, manipulate other people, and that kind of thing. Today we don't really think of it as oaths, but the challenge was, think about how you use your language. Do you ever try to impress someone with your language? Do you try to manipulate someone? So I'll give you an example from my own as I thought about it. There's a bunch that come up, but one that I thought was good to share is I was leading a mission trip, and it was in Sri Lanka. So this opportunity came up to take a group to Sri Lanka after something else had not worked out. Our visas were denied to go to Brazil, to a place that we were planning for a long time, and it opened up for us to go over there. And I thought, this is the mission trip of a lifetime. We're going across the world. I got to make this work. It was about me, right? Which I learned a lot on the mission trip about how you lead a mission trip. But we had an opportunity in Singapore to go to on a tour of the city, or to go to
Aqueduct?
No, like where you see all kinds of fish and
aquarium.
Aquarium, that's the word. I knew it was aqua something.
It was in water. We know that. It was in water.
Yeah, aquarium. And it was supposed to be this world-class aquarium, and a lot of the youth wanted to go, but me and my wisdom thought, a tour of the city would help us remember this place and give us a grounding and all this stuff. So I manipulated the team into doing this tour. I didn't necessarily manipulate, but I really thought we should do this, and so I kind of coerced a vote that went in that favor. And now when I look back, I'm like, I don't really remember that tour very much. I wonder how much they do. I think I would have remembered the aquarium better. I just feel really bad about how I used my words and my influence to get something that I thought would be best, instead of making that more of a discussion. So that's one example from my life where I was like, I'm really prone to trying to get what I want, manipulating, being selfish, impressing, And it's just so easy to do. And so it takes some reflection to realize, I did that with my family yesterday, and I did that with, or whatever. So
here's an example for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if I'm trying to get my family to go to a movie, let's say like a Marvel movie or something like that. Okay, so I'm trying to get, one of my sons who, it's a comedy. It's really funny. There's lots of laughs. Okay, so I'm just kind of, twisting that one over here. And then I go to my wife and they're like, you know what, there's an amazing love story. You'll love it, and it'll really draw you in, and there'll be so much there to connect with you. And the other son, I'm saying, oh, there's lots of explosions and lots of, right? I think that's the same kind of idea. Like we're trying to say,
Can be.
we're not letting it be what it is, and saying, here's plainly what it is. I'm actually trying to like twist them a little bit into,
You're
pushing.
using what they like and bringing out that part of it. And I mean, I don't know. There's a sort of a fine line between, just having the discussion, sharing what you'd like, and manipulating. But I think that's moving into that zone. You looked like you were about to say.
Well,
something.
as the only remaining pastor of Lakeview Heights Baptist Church,
who is not prone to this.
I wonder if the deacons are going to see this before. No, look, I think you're right that we all want what we want when we want it, and this brings the question of to what lengths are we willing to go to get it, and are they ever destructive, right? Like people were trying to, make themselves look bigger and better, right? By, well, I'm connected to this, so, right? And it's like, I'm trying to think of like modern day equivalents as well, and I wonder how often it's as simple as just a name drop. Like, oh man, I know so and so. Let me tell you about the time I had lunch with.
I think that's true.
And they would not be happy with the way that you are acting right now. Because I know them so well.
I don't even know if we have to take it to that level, right? That's a little bit
I think
extra.
That's really good.
No. See, because I would say there's times as parents. Unfortunately, I've used that one as well too, right? Because I was always challenged. Well, would Jesus be watching this movie with you? I'm sure he would not approve, right? Like, in that sense of anyways, that's a sidestep from what you were talking about. But.
And when they know Jesus better, they'll probably go, yeah, he would. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like
but name
dropping is one, and it's subtle, right? And we don't even have to take it to the extreme level where we kind of go, oh yeah, that's bad. But just if it tries to create an impression of I am greater than you, then it's the base level of it that we have to watch out for, because we're not often aware of that. And the other thing I think that comes to mind in the midst of this conversation, wasn't it Ronald Reagan? Yes, I'm old enough to call Ronald Reagan. Wasn't his big thing like trust but verify? And I'm not sure if that originated with him or he just propagated it, but like that I think we've moved kind of beyond that, where we're not even trusting anymore. We're just gonna wait for the verification. I mean, I can't even like do anything online without verifying my identity, right? Like everything has to be verified. And I think that speaks to our society and culture a little bit. We don't trust. And I guess the question becomes, what do we do to become people who are more trusting? And I think we could take that to an extreme and go, well, then we're going to be abused and manipulated all the time. But man, I guess somewhere in that zone, we need to figure out how we can just begin to take each other at their word, and right? And so when we meet new people, whether they're coming through the door of Lakeview or they're in the grocery store, we don't immediately go, okay, what's the angle here? Why are they lying? But to actually just accept people.
Okay, so that takes me to, this comedian has this one bit about, can we just all agree that airport security, or in his instance, the TSA, are completely useless, because they'll get to the end of the day and say, okay, we checked 8,000 people's bags today. Did you catch anybody? No. All right. So when I'm going through that, and then, and I get to the end, and he's done all the security things, and like, do you have any, whatever, and no, okay, you're good to go. And you can look at him and say, yeah, I know. I'm not bringing like explosions on with me. I already know that. But you made me late for my plane. It's a very funny bit.
I'm sure it's hilarious. But the last time I flew, I was that guy. My bag goes through. I'm like, what are they inspecting? What is going on? What did they see? Like, that's me. If the bag gets secondary, I'm like, what did they see? And I'm like, they're like, is there anything sharp in here? I'm like, no. Like, because I checked my bag. Sure enough, little tiny box cutter, which I learned later wasn't even mine. It was like I must have taken it off my son at some point for safekeeping, shoved it in my bag, and I'm a little surprised I caught my flight.
But imagine if you could look that security guard in the eye and say, no, I actually am not planning on taking over the plane. You can actually trust me. I would love that. You could just right through. And if you're planning on doing something terrible, could you go that way?
Well, I mean, I like what we're getting at is that this is about character. It's about character. And so we can't do anything about somebody else's character, but we can do about our own. So am I someone who does what he says so much that people are like, oh yeah, you can trust Jeff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let me give you an example. Coming here, before I came to Lakeview, in this role, I knew you guys, okay? And I especially knew you because we had worked together as youth pastors. And when I thought about coming to Lakeview, I was like, yeah, Chris is a guy I could count on because we had worked together and we had planned things together, and you always did what you said. And I was like, that was part of the thing that attracted me here is like, I know I can trust him. You know, I didn't work together with you, but you seemed like you worked together. You know, so those are some real applications of character. Like, you're being watched. Are you someone that does what they say? Are you someone that only says yes when they know they can? Or if something comes up that you let somebody know and you don't just not show up, right? I think that's so now I'm going to do a little shift. I think this whole Sermon on the Mount is is kind of a few things. One, it's Jesus telling about who he is. He's somebody who doesn't let anger fester. He's someone who doesn't, look at a woman lustfully but sees her with value. He's someone who does what he says and whatever. So it's first of all he's telling about who the King of the Kingdom is. Secondly, it's calling us to be like the King. This is how you be like the King. But third, it's a promise. I see it as a promise. One day, you know how you guys said, what would it be like?
Yes.
One day, we are going to live in a community, in a huge community, this kingdom, where everybody is trustworthy. You can get on the plane without going through security because you're trustworthy, right? You won't look at a woman, or the lust thing. You won't look at another person and not see their value and dignity. You won't let anger fester in your heart. And I think that's some of the beauty of this Sermon on the Mount. That I'm starting to notice more and more as I think about, what would it be? This is amazing. Wouldn't it be amazing if every person I talked to I could trust? I didn't have to fact check or whatever, or verify.
And yes, it's looking forward, but even now, like Jesus is saying, the kingdom of God kind of looks a lot like this.
Bring it in.
This is exactly what the kingdom of God looks like.
Yeah. You guys can be those kind of people right in here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try and put my disappointment aside because I thought we were going to get to fly in heaven, and I didn't. I was on a plane. I'm just going to.
Hey, we might. I would. That'd be awesome.
I'm just going to float around. No, it's. Yeah. Anyways, that's a.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Like, what can we do to inhabit that now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I can work on not only being more trustworthy, so that people can rely on me, but I can also try and heal whatever thing within me prevents me from trusting others.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is the piece of it I don't think we focus enough on, right?
Yeah.
I also have to deal with whatever's caused me not to trust, and so that others feel they have to always back everything up and verify.
Yeah.
What is that within me that needs to get dealt with so that I can begin to trust?
Yeah.
Because my relationships with people are going to be a whole lot better
Yeah.
if I can actually trust you, right? What you talk about coming because you thought you could trust Kevin and I, that's a healthy thing, and not everybody would have that.
Right.
That speaks a lot about your inner self, more probably than us, I feel, because you were in a place where you actually could trust people.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys showed yourself trustworthy, so.
Well, that's only because
it's
We paid some of the other pastors to actually play us up a bit.
But yeah, no, I didn't think of that part, that even to be able to trust someone who's proven themselves trustworthy, that takes something in the person too. So yeah, that's something else we can look at in our own. Yeah, wow. Well, hopefully you're having good discussions with your life group or your people in your family or people you talk with. And if you don't have people to talk to, let us know. We'd love to get you to be a part of that, part of some sort of life group or discussion group to be able to do that. Because we learn together better. Like, I just learned from you just now. Like, there's more to it. Moving forward, we have this weekend something that affects many of us, and some of us well and some of us poorly, because some of us are good at planning ahead and some of us aren't.
Well,
what do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know where you're going. But speaking of trust issues, it is one of 2 days a year where I have more than any.
Yeah.
Because I look at every clock and I go, is that the right time or is that the new time? Is that the right time or is that the new time? Is that what's the right time?
Yes. So if you didn't pick up on that, it's the time change this weekend. We spring forward, which means that we lose an hour.
But daylight savings begins. It doesn't end. It begins.
Yeah.
I don't know which way it is.
I will admit, when I was younger, as much as only 5 years ago, I used to enjoy this day. It was the one day a year where my kids would sleep in.
Oh, yes.
So I could have a quiet morning and be like,
yeah.
But it's a challenge these days to recover from losing an hour of sleep.
Yeah,
but anyways,
I know. So plan ahead, go to
if
bed
you're
an hour
one
early.
of 3 people who still use an analog clock that doesn't update automatically,
Hey, I have a couple of those in my house too still.
We will, you will come to church on Sunday morning and you will also wander around and go like, oh, that clock is wrong.
Which one is it? But anyways, it's just so you know, think ahead. You are going to lose an hour, and we would love to see you at 10 o'clock, new time, on Sunday morning. So just be aware that that's going to happen on this weekend. We're going to continue on with the Sermon on the Mount. We're, I think, on case study number 5, and then the following week, case number 6, and then it'll change into a new chapter. So looking forward to continuing on with that. Hope you're having some great times with the sun, being outside, and with your family or your groups, talking about some of the stuff we've been sharing this morning, and even more on the Sermon on the Mount. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Have a good week.